Burra boy, greetings. My name is Baba Anthony, and I am the head awo with Okanran Sode Temple here in Miami, Florida. Today, December 24th, 2024, is the celebration of Eshu is not Satan. If you do not know, this is a campaign that's been going on in Nigeria for, I believe, for at least the last 10 years. What has happened with the Irumole or Orisha Eshu is that when the Bible was written for the Yoruba people, when it was written for the community, the people in Nigeria and those parts of that country, um, what happened was that they took the name of Eshu and they used that in replace of Satan. And so now, when Christians in Nigeria and other places in Africa, West Africa specifically, uh, study their Bible, they see the name Eshu in reference to the devil. Obviously, that can be considered quite a challenging thing to see and to know. This is a way for folks to start to fear their own traditional religion, their traditional practices, and it causes them to think where they came from is not correct. And so this campaign has been going on to um, inform people, to let them know that this is not the case. In traditional religion, in Ifa and Orisha practice, we don't have anything that resembles the devil. We don't have anything that represents hell, right? So this is not a something that we have to live in fear of. And as a matter of fact, Eshu is such a great deity that is revered by so many within traditional practice that this campaign that has been going on has been so important as a place to inform people. And so I'm coming on as a representative of Okanran Sode Temple here in Miami, Florida, to share my thoughts on Eshu is not Satan, right? And so I have a few different things I want to talk about. Well, mainly I have a one story that I want to share that is one of my favorite stories when it comes to Eshu. Eshu is such an important deity in my own life and my mother's life because we're practitioners, in the life of my family, spiritual practice. It's such an important deity for us all. And so I figured, why not share a story that like really exemplifies how important Eshu is. Okay. So let us go to the Odu of Owanri Meji. This verse goes, the palm of the hand does not grow hair. This was the Ifa cast for Mofeani, I wish to succeed, who was in the midst of poverty and in the midst of suffering, who went to borrow money on pawn in the house of Kiefeani, he who wishes others to never succeed. He was advised to offer a bow. So we have the story of uh, the main character, Mofani and Kiefani. So Mofani was an interesting person. He was at a point in his life where he was going through a tremendous amount of suffering. Nothing he seemed to do brought him success. He didn't have money. He didn't have anything good to wear, and he wasn't married. He felt alone a lot of the time. He was essentially living in extreme poverty, right? Ironically, um, Mofani was very strong and a very able-bodied person, right? He was someone who worked very hard and he was ambitious. He was just looking for a chance to make his life better, looking for his chance to show someone that he could be successful at what anything he put his mind to, right? But he didn't have that chance. He was simply just constantly wishing and dreaming about becoming someone eventually, but never having an opportunity. So at this particular time in his life, Mofeani had dealt with an extreme tragedy. Was dealing with the loss of his mother. Now, within the culture, you have to go through burial rites. You have to go through things when a parent dies, when a family member passes, right? You have to go through these ceremonies and things in order to take care of to make sure that their spirit is at rest and they have a proper burial. And because um, he was so poor, he couldn't afford to do that. He was stuck. And so he decided to take his chances and to find a pawnbroker to see if he can just borrow the money to make sure that he could take care of the burial of his mother. Now, before he went out to look for money, he decided to go and visit an Ifa priest to have Ifa cast for him. Took whatever little resources he had, he went to the Babalao to have Ifa cast for him. So Ifa was cast. The Odu that comes out is a Onwari Meiji. The Babalao recited the story and shared with him that, you're going to be successful at what you do. Here's the Apple materials that you need to offer in order for you to find that success. And you need to be mindful that whatever pawnbroker you're going to go to, they don't want to see you succeed. They want to see you in a place where you are always their pawn, right? And you are always under their hand. Mofeani says, I understand, I hear you, but what else can I do? I'm stuck and I really need to take care of the situation. Babalao says, okay, go ahead, do what you have to do. But what you should do is one of the hands that you're going to be using for the ebo, you're going to take with you, and you're going to rear this hen and feed it and use that in order to earn the money that you'll need to pay back the pawnbroker. Well, says, okay. So he goes to the pawn shop and meets Kiefeani. And as he meets him, Keith Leonard says, yes, I'll let you borrow the money, but as soon as you are um, complete everything you need to do with the burial, you need to move to my farm, and help me out and start working right away so that you can take care of, what you need to take care of so you can, eventually pay me back. Mofani agreed. So as soon as everything was done, he decides to go to the farm, start doing everything that he needs to do. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the story, that Mofiani was a very able-bodied person and very, very ambitious. As he got to the farm, he was working harder than ever, from sunrise to sunset, right? He was able to get the farm cleared. He was able to get what was it, corn, cassava, and yams planted, right? He tended to the farm daily. When he finished his activities on the farm, then he found himself going into the home of Kiafiani. He would draw the baths for everybody, for Kiafiani, his wife, his children, and he was working until very late at night. Then he eventually got himself to bed. Up the next day, let's do it. Ambitious. That's how he was. He was working harder than anybody else. Kia Fiani saw this and was like, man, I got me a good deal. Got me a good deal. And now, if you remember, in the verse that I chanted right at the beginning, what was Kia Fiani's name? He who never wishes others to succeed, right? So he was watching and deep down he was thinking to himself, he says, man, I can't, no matter what happens, I can't let this guy go. I need him to be with me because he's doing such an amazing job. If he leaves, I couldn't imagine. So anyway, Mofani's hen, remember I told you he brought a hen with him from the Dafa, which came with him to live at the farm. Every day he was feeding that hen. Every day he was taking care of that hen. And amazingly, the hens began to lay eggs. The first time the hen laid 12 eggs. Now, from that 12 eggs, 10 had hatched. The second time that hen laid eggs, it laid 11 eggs, 10 eggs hatched. All right. The third time it laid eggs, it laid 10 eggs, all 10 eggs hatched and all the chicks survived. So he found himself in a place where now, at this point, he had 31 chickens. 31 chickens. The mother, and then the 30 extra birds. So one day, as Kiafani is making his rounds around the farm, he sees all these chickens. They were growing, they were getting big. He says, "Ah, what are you going to do with all those chickens?" And Mofani says, "This is what I'm going to sell so that I can pay you back. I'm almost there. I'm sure that I can get the money that I'll need and I'll be able to pay you back and I won't owe you any more money." Oh boy. This got Kiafani very, very upset. He found himself in a place where he was beside himself. He didn't know what to do. He was like, "Man, I got to think of something. I have to keep him here. He's done such amazing work for me. I don't want this to stop." So Kiafani decided to draw up a plan. So as he drew up his plan, he waited until the middle of the night. Waited to the middle of the night. He goes out and he sees where all the chickens are sleeping. And he decides to knock down the wall of the coop that the chickens are in. This ends up killing all 31 birds. So we get to the next morning. Mofani goes to feed the chickens, and he is beside himself. He does not know what to do. He does not know. He just like, how did this happen? This is crazy. And as he's weeping, all the passerbyers were stopping. He's like, "What happened?" They were asking what's going on. He's like, "Oh, I have my birds here, and the wall fell down, and it killed all of my birds." Now, one of the things I didn't mention earlier is that when the Babalawo had spoken to Mofani at the divination, he had explained to him, not only do you need to offer a bow, you need to rear these hens, you also need to feed Eshu. You know, Mofani did all of that. He fed Eshu, he took care of his Ebo, he had everything done, so he was prepared. So, who comes to his rescue? At this particular time, Eshu had changed himself into a man, and he comes walking down the street, and he sees Mofani. He says, "What has happened? What is going on here?" He says, "Ah, all of my birds, all of my chickens have died. The wall has fallen down, and I'm stuck. All of my birds have died." So Eshu says to him, he says, I'm sorry to hear that, but here's what you have to do. Take all of your chickens. I want you to roast them all and then preserve them. Do that." Wolfie was like, "Really?" And she was like, "Yes, go do that. Roast them and preserve them." Wolfie says, "Okay." So he starts to pick up his dead birds. The people that were standing around says, "Oh, that's a good idea." They start to help him pick up the dead birds, right? Mofi was a really good person, so he had a lot of folks that were pushing for him on his good side. Now, uh, Kiafiani was sort of watching some of this, and he was doing his evil smile in the background, like, "I did it. He's gonna be here. He's gonna be here with me for a while. He's good." Now, Eshu makes his way out. After all this stuff had went down, there was a son or an heir to the throne in Alara, an heir to the throne in Alara, who had become very, very ill. The Babalaos had cast Ifa for him. The Babalaos of the king had cast Ifa for him to offer their advice. And they said, "Well, here's what we have to do. Ifa says that you need to find 10 birds who died on the same day in this under the same situations, and they had been cooked and they were preserved." What a crazy Ebo to ask for, right? Not so crazy because we know Eshu knows what's going on. So, um, Eshu's walking around, he's back into a man again, and he happens to see the Babalaos and priests in town of the king that were looking around and trying to find these dead fowls. And Eshu runs into one of the men and he says, "Yes, we're looking for these fowls that were killed at the same time." Eshu says, "Ah, I know somebody. Please make your way over to Kiafani's farm, and ask for Mofeani." I said, "Okay." They gathered all their people and they started walking towards Kiafiani's farm. Meanwhile, Eshu hurries back over to Mofeani. He says, "Ah, your birds. There's a group of the king's men that are coming. When they come, you need to ask them for 4 million calories per bird." Mofeani was like, "You serious? 4 million? That seems like a lot." And she says, "No, that's what you need to trust me. They can afford it." He says, "Okay." Now the men come, they show up at the farm, they see Kiafani, they says, "What are you men doing here? How can I help you?" And the men make it over to, they said, "We're looking for Mofeani. We need to buy 10 birds." That and then Kiafani was like, "Ha, his birds are dead. He has nothing to sell you." And they said, "Ah, that's perfect because we need 10 birds killed on the same day." Kiafani was like, "Ah." As they get over to Mofeani's space and room, Mofeani sees the men. He says, with all the might he can, he says, "If you want these birds, they're going to be $4 million each." They said, "No problem." Mofeani was like, "What? That's crazy." Now, mind you, he's getting 4 million per calories per bird. He only owed Kiafani 50,000 calories. Kiafani had heard this and was beside himself. Now he known he had lost. He had lost his greatest servant. Now, moving on from there, another two kingdoms had sons who had found themselves falling into deep illness, right? This was the heir to the throne at Ajero and the heir to the throne at Owa Rangun Aga, right? Both their sons had fallen ill. Now, when Eshu saw the same thing, he saw the servants and at Ajero, he goes back, he tells him, says, "Oh, I know someone. The same Ebo had come as previously in order to heal this young man. Same Ebo, they need the same materials." And they go looking, and Eshu meets them and says, "Ah, I know a guy. Go look for Kiafiani's farm. Look for Mofeani." And then Eshu gets back to Mofeani. He says, "This next group from Majero, you're going to charge them 6 million calories per bird. They need 10." Mofeani's like, "Wow, I can't. That's way more than I need." Eshu says, "Do it." He says, "Okay." So we have the men show up. They're looking for the birds. He says 6 million calories. They said, "No problem." Mofiane was beside himself. He couldn't believe it. Now the folks from Owarangun Aga had come in, and Eshu gets back to Mofiane. He says to them, he says, "You need to charge, what was it? 8 million calories per bird. First set, 4 million. Second set, 6 million. Third set, 8 million." Mofiane was like, "But this is too much. I have more than enough money." And Eshu says, "No, they can afford it because they are richer than both of the other kings combined." So Mofiani says, "Okay." They show up. He says, 8 million calories per bird. They said, "No problem." They dump all their money out to him. Ah, Mofiani's beside himself. He is beside himself. Now we get to, he's now gotten to a point where he's got millions and millions of dollars of calories. He sold his 30 birds. Now he has one bird left. One bird left. And now what happens is the Oni of Ife himself had took. This is the king of Ife, the leader of Ife. He found himself ill. And his Ebo needed to be a mother hen who was killed on the same day as her children. And like It was roasted and prepared and preserved. They heard the babalao. The men started going out looking. It's like, how can we find this? Eshu runs into the men looking for it. He says, go to Kiafani's farm and look for Mofani. He has what you need. He rushes back over to Mo Fanny and he says, these people have the most amount of money. You're going to ask them for 100 million calories for the mother hen. Mo Fanny's eyes just grew big, like, that's crazy talk. Anyway, to move the story along, as the men got there, he says 100 million calories. The men said, no problem. They handed the money over. Now, at this point, there was something like 280 million calories, right? This all happened in the matter of a day. The morning, Mofani had woken and all of his precious birds were killed. By the end of the day, he had somewhere around 280 million calories. Now, Kiafiani, what happens to him? He was beside himself. Obviously, got his money back, but he was so disgraced. He was so sad. He was like, Olodumare has shined a light, a miracle in Mofani's life. He is beyond blessed. Now Mofani was in a position where he now owned the farm, and his wealth had spread throughout the community because he was someone of such good character that he gave back, and the townspeople were singing his joy. And Kiafiani became the one to work for Mofani, taking care of the farm. Mofani was rich, happy, influential, and honorable to everyone in the community. Now, if we look at this story, we start to understand the importance of Eshu, right? We start to understand why Eshu means something to every single one of us in this religion. This story is about how Eshu righted the wrong. This story is about how when we do what we need to do, we take care of our character. If we work hard and we're ambitious, we go and we seek the advice of Ifa. We offer our ebo. Eshu is our policeman that brings that karma, that justice of karma, right? Whatever good we do, Eshu supports that good. Eshu does not like those who are liars, who are cheats, who are taking from others in a terrible way, right? That is not what Eshu is looking for. Eshu is I see him as an Orisha that is sometimes indifferent, right? It's either you offer your ebo or you don't, right? If you don't offer your ebo, he will allow you to face the challenges that you are going through. But if you offer your ebo, he is there as your support throughout. He is there to take care of you to make sure that wrong doesn't happen. Eshu is the one that takes our prayers to heaven, as it says in many of the verses, especially when we're chanting Oshe Torah, right? When we're chanting Oshe Torah, this is where Eshu takes our prayers to the house of Ashe for them to be heard by Olodumare so that he can grant the blessings that we need. Eshu is our policeman, right? And so this is one of my favorite stories that shows that Eshu was not Satan in the Bible. Eshu is not the the and pardon me, I don't read the Bible. So my only thought of what the glorification is in media that you have this evil character who's in charge of the underworld. That's not our Eshu. There's nothing to do with any of that. He's simply the policeman of our religion, the one who hears our prayers and takes them to the place that they need to go, and is our great, great, great supporter. In one of the um, Oriki that I was taught, right, we hear Eshu Laolu, the strong wall of stone. Eshu, the one who does good for those who offer Ebo, the one who pushes evil to devilish people. Right? If we start to understand and study who Eshu is, we understand his importance in our lives as Ifa and Orisha devotees. Right? When we offer Ebo, let me just touch on this one last final subject. When we touch on, or when we offer Ebo within Ifa and Orisha, um, we have to understand that part of our Ebo goes to Eshu. In the Odu of Owane Shogbe, a part of a verse says, uh, Bada Abagodo Goda, pardon me for the name, he was the one who cast Ifa for Allah Usa, who was offering Ebo without tending to Eshu. Right? When we offer Ebo as practitioners, as Orisha, if an Orisha priest, when we offer Ebo, we always take our offering or part of the offering to Eshu. We pray that Eshu comes to take whatever part of the Ebo he wants for himself. So if we offer Ebo without offering to Eshu, then we're looking for trouble in our lives. So we don't. We always give a part of our Eshu, part of our Ebo to Eshu. And then that verse completes itself by saying, let us feed Eshu for Eshu to go. Right? Hear that again. Let us feed Eshu for Eshu to go. So again, this is my sharing of why Eshu is not Satan. I hope you were able to learn something from this story and to get a better understanding of who Eshu is to Ifa and Orisha people. I hope you have a wonderful evening, a wonderful holiday season. I know many of you may be celebrating Christmas and celebrating the new year that's coming up. I wish you many, many blessings. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Okanran Sode Temple, either through our website. We have started a Patreon group, which is our study group, and I hold uh, teaching sessions on Wednesdays at this moment. We're looking at moving them because it doesn't seem to be a great day for many folks. But in the in that space is where I do a lot of teaching. We make videos, I post articles, and we're able to study Ifa together. So consider being a part of that Patreon community. Along with that, there's links to our WhatsApp, our Q&A, WhatsApp chat group. There's lots of really, really good things going on there. So I hope you all have a wonderful and blessed holiday season and a happy new year. Aboru aboye, aboshishiogbato.